What's the best real life example that you've witnessed of someone destroying their own happiness? Together, we were miserable. There was nothing good about that relationship. He ended up cheating, among other crappy behaviors, and we split. For a while, it really seemed like everybody was better off. He seemed happy to be with his affair partner. I was just thriving being single. The kids were much happier because it turns out a home with two deeply unhappy parents is terrible for children. It was all looking up. He and I were civil and focused on co parenting. About a year after the split, things seemed to just start spiraling for him. He lost his job in a niche field where you really have to be the best of the best to get sustainable work, and he was simply never the best of the best. He was getting by on piecemeal contracts and simply won't retrain into another more stable field, or even just supplement his income with something like bartending or food service or anything. His girlfriend had some kind of injury needing repeated surgeries that's limited her ability to work, so he's the breadwinner on a low and sporadic income. He started to become increasingly inconsistent with the kids and would disappear from their lives on and off, so they, being children, turned more and more to me for stability. His views became increasingly alt-right and anti-science, which in my opinion just makes you an angry, disconnected person who thinks society is persecuting you. And it also turns out I had all the financial sense in the relationship and did all his life admin, and he doesn't know how to do a lot of basic crap like refinance loans or do taxes. So there's been this long list of totally avoidable financial near disasters occurring because he didn't do X, which would have prevented Y. Or it comes to me asking for money because he's taken out payday loans, and surprise, the interest is brutal. I learned my lesson there. I don't help him with money now. Meanwhile, I'm doing great. My kids are doing great. They like spending time with him, but don't really see him as a person to turn to for support or comfort. I look back on that first year and he seemed happy, and I'm at a bit of a loss for how it's all gone to crap for him in the years since. Well, I guess I'm not surprised at all at his outcome, judging by what she described. Man with poor insight in many aspects of his life, self-awareness, life skills, limited professional progression, choice of life partners, then makes bad decisions, which, of course, all of it together snowball. Story 2. My sister was offered an incredible, well-paying job doing something she's great at. She decided it would be too easy and opted for a far more challenging job in a far less appealing setting with the schmuck of a boss she was hoping to impress. She's miserable now. I honestly don't get why she does this sort of crap to herself. Story 3. Young guy at work, he's in his early to mid-20s, is married with 2 kids and a third on the way. This new girl at work has been after him so hard. He was seriously tempted and conflicted, and we all tried to talk him out of it. Did he really want to throw away his family life for this? Do you really think this new girl is going to stick around once all the drama starts when you guys get caught? He told us one day that he finally told the new girl to leave him alone. He was happy with his wife and she didn't stand a chance. 3 weeks later, he was sleeping in his car because he went for the new girl after all, got caught, kicked out, and served with divorce papers. And the new girl ditched him once he got depressed over it. Story 4. A good friend I worked with for years was married to a great dude, super nice, and everyone loved him, just a great guy all around. They had a couple middle school age kids too. I think she was going through a midlife crisis type of thing, but anywho, she reconnected with her old high school boyfriend on FB and they started having an affair. She ended up telling her husband about it and left him for the other guy. Her husband was great about it, wanted her to be happy, great at co-parenting, and didn't want to make anything harder on the kids, etc. The old high school boyfriend was toxic as heck. I met him a few times and he was an absolute schmuck. They fought constantly. Every other week they were breaking up, kicking each other out of her condo. Or he'd just go missing for days at a time and she'd be a wreck wondering where he was, which was usually a couple of hours away at the beach on a substance bender with his friends. He's in his late 40s, by the way. She said she got bored with her life with her husband and wasn't attracted to him anymore. But I think she just went off the deep end and wanted something that wasn't there anymore, that feeling and excitement of young puppy love, but that's not what she got. I think some people just need drama in their life. I felt like she threw away a happy life just because she missed the drama. God, isn't that some horrible truth? I don't know what it is in these folks' heads or if they believe too much in the movies or books for their own sake. Story 5. I know a guy who was now in his 50s, 60s who got bored with his wife and kids, cheated on her and divorced her. His wife, who had always supported him because he just couldn't hold the job down, started a business and became a multimillionaire. She also got remarried to this amazing guy who was a major step up from the husband in every aspect. The guy then married this mail-order bride from Indonesia. As soon as the 3 years she had to stay with him to get permanent residency were over, she left him and married his richer cousin. I sometimes get invited to family events and see him there by himself, broke and with none of his kids or family members wanting to talk to him. Story 6. My ex friend, Tom, over 10 years ago when we were teenagers, once said to me, "I'm going to try substance tonight." While we were at a bar, Australian. I literally knew nothing about substances at the time, especially what he was going to try. I just knew it wasn't good. He invited me to join him, but I said no because I had a gut feeling it wouldn't end well for me. Since that day, he went in and out of prison, lost all of his friends, including me, and completely changed as a person. While walking with my wife and daughter a few months back, I saw him walking his dog. He had obviously cleaned himself up, but it was like two strangers walking past each other. I took one silver lining out of this. It made me learn a lot about substances altogether, and it showed me a different life I could have led if I said yes all those years ago. Always say no to substances, it will ruin your life and take everything. Story 7. Knew a guy that worked for a small publicly traded company, a penny stock. It became a meme stock around the GameStop era. His holdings went from about $50,000 to $7 million in a few weeks. He knew the valuations were complete BS but refused to sell. He said $10 million was his screw you money number, and only when it hit that would he sell. I begged him to sell because it was obvious it was a short-term phenomenon and he had made a lot of bad bets in his life. The company lost about 99% of its value from its high. He did get out at about $500,000. Taxes got about 30% of it, but watch almost all of it evaporate. He's absolutely miserable at his new job. He could have retired at a young age. Still can't believe he did it, like throwing away a lottery ticket. Story 8. I have a family member who inherited around $500,000 in cash and assets when his mother passed away. He had a decent job at the time. This inheritance meant that he started taking longer vacations and stopped consistently working. He bought a sports car and paid off the 2 pre-built condos that his mother had put down payments on, but sold one immediately at a loss, and then rented the other out for a while until his original tenants moved out, then let it sit vacant for over a year and then sold it at a loss. He loaned money to his half-sister to pay for tuition at a job that would never allow her to repay him. He bought every new and interesting piece of electronics. The electronics eventually caught up with him. He went on holiday to the USA, and on his way back across the border, the guards wanted to search his laptop, which led to the discovery of disturbing stuff. There wasn't much money left from the estate at that point. He was arrested and only managed to stay out of jail on a technicality that a very expensive lawyer found. He paid mid-$50,000 for his defense. The 2 or 3 years that the criminal defense was going on, he didn't work at all, just dipped out on his employer who would have continued employing him. He sold a sports car at a loss, sold his last remaining property, the condo, at a loss, sold a bunch of his expensive toys at a loss, ended up penniless, actually probably bankrupt, but not in jail. Now his life consists of living in a small rented bedroom and working as a local trucker. He didn't just destroy his life, he nuked it from orbit and then salted the ground. He's currently in his late 40s and will probably never be able to retire. Most of the family won't speak to him at all. Story 9. I met a guy who went to an Ivy League law school, putting himself hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. He passed a bar exam with an almost perfect score, but was rejected from the bar due to his substance history. He had been involuntarily committed to a psychiatric hospital after getting really high and becoming psychotic. No state is likely to ever accept him as a lawyer now. He's basically stuck making $40,000 a year as a legal assistant for the rest of his life, all because he did a bunch of substances in college. Story 10. My parents separated earlier this year. It was 100% my dad's fault due to being a cruel textbook narcissist. Mom put their house up for sale and he had 2 months to sort out his move. He claimed to have nothing, no support, and nowhere to go. My husband and I took pity on him and despite having a newborn and both working, helped him pack, sell off the extra furniture to get him some cash, and I found him a secure place to buy in his budget. He turned around and said he didn't want to move into the type of place I found. An over 50s village, he's 73, because, quote, he wouldn't be able to take chicks back there to fool around. He then refused to leave the property and said the cops would have to fire at him to get him out of the house. When I put pressure on him because otherwise the sale would have fallen over and they would have been sued, he threatened to end it all, which he does absolutely every time something isn't going his way, and to burn the house down repeatedly, including in front of my kid. Eventually, he does comply and we move him into the granny flat of a woman he met playing pokies, slot machines for you US types, and he is apparently a millionaire from a famous family. I call BS, but he clearly thinks he's found someone new to mooch off of. They have been at the pokies every day for months now. His money won't last long at this rate. Then I find out through all of this, all the stress and BS he put me through when I should have been in a happy new baby cocoon, He actually had an offer from a longtime friend to move in with him and his wife, and that they had a whole team of people willing to help him with his move. Considering that he ghosted them after they made that offer, though, they have since decided to discontinue the friendship since he's shown he didn't value it or them. And guess what? My husband and I are also done with him. I was the last kid that spoke to him. So he went from being married with a family to living in insecure housing, hurling towards poverty and homelessness, having burned every bridge he had, all because he is too narcissistic to accept that he is less than perfect and that he is ultimately responsible for his own life. Story 11. My best friend was having an affair, and I was the only person, apart from the two of them, that knew what was going on. My friend knew that I was friends with his wife before they met, and we were close, but he just unloaded everything on me and said, "Don't tell Kelly, but the other one is pregnant." I said, "Bro, you got 3 kids and a wife. What are you doing?" He said it was fun. I'm a bit ashamed to say that I abandoned him, and I last saw him. He was in a group of street drinkers, and he chased me up the street trying to talk to me. I'm still close with Kelly. She moved on and is with a great lad now. Story 12. This one is rather simple compared to some of the others, but I have a quote-unquote friend, I guess. He's always complaining about not being able to make connections with new people, and that his 2 friends keep him at arm's length, that I'm the only person who regularly talks to him. I told him it's because he's passively mean to everyone and doesn't extend any effort into the friendships. He comes back with, "Their emotions are their responsibility, not mine." He can't make friends because he's a bully, and he can't keep friends because he's too passive and expects them to put in all the work. Plus, he's a bully, saying really mean things off the cuff under the guise of brutal honesty. He absolutely will not accept this. I told him it's the reason I won't invite him further into my life and circles either. And that one struck a nerve with him, so hopefully he will start to look inward. To be fair, I do think he's a sociopath, so my efforts will likely be in vain. However, he is constantly miserable and feeling apathetic toward life and wants more friends. He's his own worst enemy. I'm giving it another month and then bailing if he's stuck that hard in his ways. Story 13. My oldest cousin used to get regularly verbally mistreated by my extremely strict religious aunt growing up and used to complain to me and my sister about the treatment he got. My paternal grandmother and my parents tried to intervene numerous times, but to no avail. As my uncle, my dad's younger brother, used to support the treatment that my aunt gave to my 2 cousins, sadly, nothing really got done in the end. Fast forward to now, at 21 years old, my oldest cousin has now become a fundamentalist Christian who posts constantly on Instagram about it. What's really sad is he doesn't trust anybody who doesn't go along with his beliefs, even family members, and he's extremely dismissive and hateful of anybody who lives a different life to him. Sadly, this includes my grandmother, and it is breaking her heart that one of her grandkids refuses to speak to her just because she doesn't share his beliefs. Story 14. He was miserable at a data entry company in Texas. I encouraged him to apply for his dream job for a company that was out of state. I told him if he gets the gig, he can figure out the move over there and he'll be making enough to move his girlfriend and her 2 kids. I said that of course it'll be a difficult move, but he has to follow his dreams and his passions. Well, they made him an offer above what he asked for. I remember the day he got the news. He called me crying, and I cried too because I was so happy for him. He deserved it, and he is a good person. His girlfriend was absolutely not okay with it, and she said he only supported him when he applied because she didn't expect him to get an offer. She threatened to break up with him and even accused him of abandoning his children and forcing the children to be raised without a father, even though they weren't his children. They had only been dating a year and her kids were 8 and 12 at the time. He finally gave in and turned down the offer. I was so disappointed and I was upset with her. She called sometime later and yelled at me for getting his hopes up even though I supposedly knew there would be a problem with her. She also accused me of trying to get him to break up with her. After that, he and I hung out less and less till finally communication stopped altogether. About a year later, he sent me a message saying that he hated me for putting him in that dilemma. And that honestly hurt the most. That was about 20 years ago. He's still at the same data entry company, and he got his first promotion. He's now a senior software engineer after being stuck with the junior title for 20 goddamn years. Anyway, the company he wanted to work for was Boston Dynamics. Story 15. I work in psych. People are constantly ruining their lives with substances and alcohol. We offer them help. They say, okay, and then they leave. They don't pick up their meds. They don't get rehab. They go straight to their substance of choice. This is part of the reason why I care for people, not about them. Seeing people continually ruin their lives and allowing yourself to care is a sure way to have a very sad life. When they are with me, I do my damnedest to make sure they get the best care they can. Once they leave, it's on them, not my problem anymore. Sometimes I think I'll see you in a month with fewer teeth, but again, not my problem. My problem is ensuring we have enough food on the table, that our health is good, and that the kittens feel loved along with my wife. As for the patients, it's not my problem anymore. Story 16. I saw people that ended up on the streets as homeless, but here comes the important thing. In the country where I live, you get full coverage by social welfare. The state pays your rent for a home, pays your monthly insurance bills for healthcare access, etc., and also offers you free detox, rehab, and therapy for substance fixation. Also therapy for mental health issues and other problems. Still, these guys that hang out in certain places of the public substance scene, they refuse any help. They have given up on themselves. Even when street workers come and offer them assistance, like doing the paperwork for getting social welfare, getting a new home, etc., and even when they want to give them some warm clothes in the winter, they refuse. Some of them even refuse to get the basic things like the free dog food we hand out here and the free vet care we offer them. There's no way to get through to them. That's self-destruction that you can't imagine if you have ever seen it for yourself. Like when I was on substance, I met this one guy. He had swelling on multiple body parts. I told him to see a doctor ASAP because they will lead to sepsis, ending him. His answer was, "I'm fine, don't tell me what to do." Story 17. My great uncle was terrified of passing away, and as he aged, he fell into a deep depression about the fact that he would eventually pass away. And this depression brought on health issues, which ultimately led to him having a heart attack and then passing away in his sleep. It was such a weird thing since he passed very peacefully and without him even knowing, which is what he would have wanted, but his passing was caused by his fear of passing away, so it was literally a self-fulfilling prophecy. Man destroyed his happiness due to a fear that he literally caused to come true. The creepy thing about this story is it's kind of made me concerned about how I'll deal with my own mortality when I get older. Story 18. Time for me to shine and hopefully gain a small bit of catharsis. Person in question is my wife. We were happily married right up to 2 weeks ago. At least I thought so. She'd been working harder than usual the past few months, but that's not out of the ordinary for her. She seemed to be very happy and satisfied with our current situation. We'd moved into our new home a year and a half ago. Things have gone really well, and we both love our home and our 2 cats to bits. Unknown to me, she'd been cheating on me for the past few months and had been planning to leave me as soon as new toy got his own place. She intoxicatedly confessed to 2 friends she thought, for some reason, would encourage or side with her. They did not. They forced her to tell me, and she dropped that bomb on me 2 weeks ago. Since then, her friends have cut her out. She has an overwhelming desire to be liked. She's moved out to stay with her mom, who was cheated on herself, but her husband, i.e., my wife's father, who is unimaginably disappointed in her. She's lost the home she put so much effort and love into. Our cats will stay with me. Now for what? Some rando who's classy enough to take advantage of his position of power over her. He's a mentor in their company and brags like an 18-year-old kid about his life philosophies and drive. Good luck out there, you absolute freaking idiot. The only thing I lost was a tumor I didn't know about that got rid of itself. And if you're nodding your head with some of these stories and like, yeah, as your reaction, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. I'm trying to reach my next goal of 60K subscribers, so please do help me get there. Story 19. My dad. My mom kicked him out about 15 years ago. When my grandmother passed, he used the partial inheritance to buy a very small house with his girlfriend one state over to take care of my grandfather. And for a while, he was great. His girlfriend was keeping him in shape, he was taking care of my grandfather, and he was reuniting with old friends in the area. When my grandfather passed, it fell apart. He got the rest of his inheritance, I'm not sure how much, but my grandparents were adults during World War II and did very well for themselves. Broke up with his girlfriend for some reason, gained back all the weight he lost the house in the process, and blew all the inheritance money on motorcycles and a sports car. He lent money to people who never paid him back. Now he rents a room from my mom and works in a kitchen somewhere. He also doesn't have the fancy vehicles he bought anymore. Story 20. Probably myself. Instead of continuing my career as a chef, I went a different direction and got a job in purchasing for a restaurant equipment distributor. It was great for 10 years, at which point they asked me if I wanted to try selling, and I said sure because it was a good pay increase. Sales are miserable. People suck, but when you're in sales, people really suck. You're treated like a whipping boy at everyone's beck and call. I'm out of sales now, but my new position is crazy stressful. I'm so stressed, I started unconsciously pulling out my hair from my eyebrows, and now I have weird eyebrows. I'm working so hard, I feel too drained to start job searching after work. I miss being creative. I miss the camaraderie, the sounds, the smells, though some I definitely don't miss, the people. I have enough experience now that I can be a restaurant consultant, but I have no idea how to get started, so I just keep on chugging through my current stressful as heck job. Follow your dreams, people. Don't trade passion for security. Story 21. My friend's little brother grew up smoking substances with their mom. Time after time, I'd see this kid distance himself from her and do great things. Unfortunately, it never lasted too long. I feel like once he really got to a comfortable spot, he'd fall back into his crap. Started doing hood things for fun to impress his little hood friends. He got arrested and spent time in jail. None of those friends of his contacted him. None of them helped him. None of them cared at all. Once he got out, he was stable for a moment, doing well again, and he had literally a second chance at life. You already know he went back to his buddies, started doing wild crap again. Eventually, maybe a year and a half after getting out, he's charged with some heavy crap. He'll be doing hard time for a long while now. It's such a shame. I liked him and he was clearly a smart kid, but you could tell when he was truly happy and when he was on the crap and into crap. Story 22. My mom, she was tall and beautiful, smart as a tack, and a lovely sense of humor. She was proposed to 6 times. She was in hot demand. She got a degree in veterinary medicine and worked as a vet for 2 years. Then she met my dad, a cheating schmuck cop who completely sucked the life out of her. He cheated on her for the first 10 years of their marriage with a woman by the same name. He controls everything she does. I mean, everything. She can't even spend 5 minutes in the bathroom without him screaming at her for being useless. She had such a bright future ahead of her, and she gave it all up to allow us kids to have 2 parents. Granted, it would have been a much healthier household if they had separated, but her heart is in the right place. She went back to school recently and got her master's in bioinformatics, but she's been out of work for over 20 years and has been struggling to get a job. She's truly the strongest woman I've ever met, and I hate my dad for taking her life away from her. Story 23. Too many to name. However, one surefire way of destroying your happiness and that of loved ones around you is not staying true to yourself. The basic desires of every human being are love, appreciation, and a sense of belonging. Alas, in order to fit in the subsection of the society in which we operate, we forego our original and unique identities and instead mold ourselves into what society wants us to become, or at least our skewed perception of what society wants us to be. This may work out for a while, but in the long run, it only hurts you and the others around you. You may fool others, but you can't fool yourself. It erodes you internally, and eventually it comes out in the form of anger, resentment, embitterment, and contempt towards your own life. Be true to who you are. Story 24. My grandmother, she had a pretty nice life, and frugality meant she could have had a very comfortable retirement. However, you never saw someone who would search for gray clouds to every silver lining. Heck, she made up more than a few clouds herself with hypochondria and Munchausen's. Frugality turned into pathological cheapness. Then because she had managed to Silas Marner her way into some serious cash in the bank, she decided we were all only around her to get money. Borrowing money from banks was infinitely preferable to strings that came with her money. She owned you if you had had the bad judgment to borrow from her. As for inheritance, I have not seen a dime and I do not care. We stuck around out of misguided obligation and nothing more. Story 25. Buddy of mine worked in national security. He had clearance, top secret, did something with satellite imaging analysis. He also smoked grass. This is, for those who don't know, not allowed if you hold a security clearance. And he lied about it in his initial review. The dude then proceeds to grow a conscience and admitted during a subsequent review that he smoked. Folks, don't smoke grass when you have a security clearance. I cannot stress that enough. But if you do not tell the interviewer that you've been lying to them. That is not something they want to hear, and it will mess your life right up. He lost his clearance, got put on leave at work, started drinking, I think out of some combination of self-pity, boredom, and addictive personality. Ended up getting blackout intoxicated on the daily, and one night he did something threatening toward his wife and infant son. I don't know what, he doesn't know what, but his wife was very shaken up. Nothing actually happened physically, but it was apparently the final straw. His wife had been dealing with his crap for months at this point. His wife filed for divorce the next day. I don't blame her, one tiny bit. He lost a 10-year marriage with a woman he loved and still loves, 2 kids, his job, and his home. Story 26. Saw a guy wreck his entire life with cheating, was married to a fantastic woman, gorgeous, made great money, didn't even have to work unless he wanted to, loyal, and still found the energy to take care of the entire house. The man had to do nothing, but for some reason in his mind figured, man, this is perfect, I better go cheat. Threw it away over attempting to sleep with one of her friends, who then promptly showed his wife. Later confessed he's been trying to cheat because he was so bored. I will never understand those kinds of people. Story 27. A guy I know was happily married in every way aside from bedroom activities. His wife had a health issue that deeply affected her interest in having intimacy. They had intimacy, just not frequently. The wife recognized her husband's frustration and decided that it was okay for him to have intimacy with other women, as long as he didn't bring them into their home and didn't talk about them in front of her. This was the arrangement they had for 4 years when I first met him. Well, about 2 years later, he was with a really exploration-friendly 23-year-old. He ended up falling for her and leaving his wife. The young woman apparently had a substance problem that he ended up also acquiring, and in under a year he was homeless, jobless, and blamed his wife for it all. He disappeared and I hadn't seen him since. Story 28. My ex-best friend married a guy she didn't love or even have an attraction to because he was perfect on paper, has stable income, and does absolutely everything for her and the kids. The biggest thing that made her do it was that she'd always wanted her family's approval and acceptance, and they loved this guy, so she married him. At the wedding, she looked absolutely miserable, and you could tell her heart wasn't in it. She's still married to him, and the light has gone from her eyes, but she'll stay forever, I think, because it's gained her family's approval. We fell out because I was the only one to tell her that she shouldn't do it. Story 29. One of my exes cheated on me. This was about 12 years ago and moved to another city to be with a guy. He was here on holidays. Saw her a couple of years ago when she was back visiting her mom back in this city. She acted happy to see me and came over to talk, was acting all nice and flirty, then admitted she was miserable. The other guy was a douche who dumped her when she lost her figure and slept with her younger sister, so she was alone. She then floated the idea of getting back together, which I promptly shot down by introducing her to my wife. Good lord, the range of faces she managed to pull in about 5 seconds before walking away was amazing. Story 30. My dad, every decision he has ever made, he decided a long time ago that he was poor and poor people have hard lives. He will refuse any option that could make his life easier. Examples, he needs a double knee replacement, won't do it. We're UK, so the only factor is time. Anytime he's ill, he'll push through and turn a cold into pneumonia and end up in the hospital. He assumed he wouldn't qualify for a full state pension. You can literally check this online, it takes 2 seconds. He assumed he wouldn't get much private pension from the job he did for 15 years, 30 odd years ago. So because of his assumptions, he worked himself into the ground unnecessarily, thereby robbing himself of any mobility he had to enjoy in his retirement. Funny thing is, he actually has spare money now he's retired than he did working, and it makes him unbearably comfortable to know he doesn't have to scrimp and save. Every opportunity to improve his life is shot down in a hail of "can't afford it." He would never ever check the actual cost of something. No, just assume. In fact, there's been numerous occasions where he can afford it because he's nowhere near as poor as he likes to make out. My entire life has been avoiding, fighting, and repairing the damage from his poor decision-making. It made for a most frustrating childhood. Story 31. My sister-in-law was one of my good friends. They owned a beautiful house, had 2 beautiful girls, and loved each other more than life itself. My friend is the type of guy you couldn't dislike, hardworking, honest, a great dad. She, on the other hand, liked to stay at home all day and watch replays of reality TV shows. She is a good mom, though. About 4 years ago, she decided that she needed to be independent, a strong woman, and left him. She stayed in his parents' investment property for half the market rent for 2 months while they sorted out their affairs. She got her own place, found a new boyfriend 2 weeks later, moved in with him 4 weeks later, and was pregnant 9 weeks later. The new guy is toxic, has a gambling problem, belittles her in front of her kids and family any chance he gets, and is extremely jealous. Long story short, I have never seen someone blow up their life as quickly as she did for hers. She had it all and now has nothing. Story 32. My oldest best friend retired a couple of years ago at 55. Now all they do is drink alcohol all day long and rarely eat anything much. Has been hospitalized a couple of times because health is deteriorating from the drinking. They were supposed to retire young so they could enjoy their time with the grandkids and grow old with the spouse. But I'm afraid they won't make it another year. It's sad. I tell them how worried I am, but I feel like I'm watching them destroy their happiness right in front of me. Everything's fine, they tell me. I don't know what to do. Story 33. My absolutely gorgeous former boss, her husband cheated on her with some jankety fire crew recruit who was engaged. He's moving in with the side piece, 2 relationships destroyed. He has the courage to tell my boss he's leaving her by phone while she's out of state visiting family, and the questions about the pets going unanswered to make her have to come home early. Divorce goes through arbitration with both parties' consent. He now pays her $300 a month for the rest of his life, no kids. 3 months later, he's booted out of the side piece's place on his own, and side piece is back with her fiance. Side piece is fired from 2 jobs in the year of this mess. What none of us can figure out is what the heck the fiance thinks his marriage is going to be like lol. Boss's husband is a yellow, coward piece of crap who should leave town with his tail between his legs, but he grew a stash and appears to think this is fine while burning happens everywhere he goes. Oh, and if you're watching this, get screwed, Chris. Story 34. My paternal grandmother decided to live with her favorite daughter instead of agreeing to chip in $400 a month in rent to live with us. Backstory, Dad has 3 siblings, total of 4 kids. My dad is her least favorite child while also being the most caring and respectful of his mom. My grandma's favorite daughter is the most selfish sibling. Grandma has a low-income government service job that provides $1,000 a month to anyone who will do basic caretaking work for her. Cook, bring her meals, light cleaning, take her to doctor's appointments, and get her meds. She decided to solely give that $1,000 to her favorite daughter while all the kids chipped in on the duties. At one point, her landlord was selling and she had to move. My grandpa had passed away a few years ago, so it was just her. My parents had just built a permitted ADU, additional dwelling unit, in our large backyard. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, single story, around 400 square feet. We determined the market rent was $1,600 a month. We're in SoCal in a really nice neighborhood. Rent is now $2,000 for that unit. My grandma asked to move in but said she could only pay $400 a month in rent. That wouldn't cover it because my parents had a mortgage and were depending on that ADU for their retirement. My dad proposed that each sibling, all 4 of them, should chip in $400 a month for their mom so she could have the unit for $1,600 a month. Technically, my parents would collect $1,200 since my dad would also chip in $400. She refused to ask her other kids for money. Instead, she decided to move in with her favorite daughter. She gave her daughter a significant sum of money, a 5-digit figure, to convert their garage into a living space. Her daughter decided to do it illegally without permits. This garage does not have plumbing, insulation, smoke detectors, sewer, kitchen, HVAC, or a bathroom. There's also a huge step down, about 1.5 feet, to get into and through the front door. Not helpful for an 80-something-year-old with a walker. Here's the kicker, if the above wasn't already bad enough. Her daughter's main house is a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Both her adult kids have moved out. They have 2 empty bedrooms, but they refuse to let her move into the main house. My grandma does her dishes in the yard with a garden hose, cooks with a gas grill outside, and defecates on newspaper. I am not kidding, and yes, it was 2023. The daughter and her husband eat dinner in the main house. My grandma eats alone in her garage home. My dogs live better than my grandma simply because she refused to ask her kids to chip in $400 each to move into our unit, while wanting us to front $1,200 a month to cover for her. Both my parents work blue-collar jobs and had a $300,000 mortgage at 55. My parents are considered low income. Her daughter has a fully paid-off house and has been a housewife her whole life. Story 35. Brother-in-law decided to take his entire inheritance and $100K of my sister's, $500K total, to have a go at day trading and try and get it big enough to buy a decent place in Sydney, as opposed to buying something modest with $500K back in 2018. Lost a lot in 6 months. Now they're getting booted from their unit as they can afford the extra $200 a week it's been raised. Now they're broke and having to pay for a move once they can actually find a dump 30 minutes further out of the city. You get any chance to get on the property ladder? Take it. Oh, I forgot, before all this, he used the first $50K to buy a sports car, went racing out in the country and lost his license for 2 years. He was a cab driver, so the day trader was an attempted career move. Story 36. As a 40-something married dude living in the suburbs, I know of dozens of couples that got divorced, with about 80% of that group because the wife felt like she could do better and basically destroyed her family to go find herself, and whatever else they say. So far, I think only one of the women has been happier. In most cases, the ex-husbands are either with someone younger and mostly happy, or happy being alone away from their ex-wives, who are almost uniformly deeply unhappy because they are late 30s to 40s and the grass is not greener for a divorcee with kids. This is not a universal experience, but in my anecdotal personal experience, I see this happen way too many times. Story 37. A former friend had a lot going for her. She was in school for fashion and costume design with aspirations to work for Disney and was close to graduating, had an absolutely amazing girlfriend and had a great group of friends. Then she met John, fake name. John was a schmuck who worked his way into her life, and within months of starting to hang out with him and his wife, she suddenly switched her major, pushed away both her girlfriend and our entire friend group in favor of hanging out with him, And then one day, just up and moved down to live with him and his wife. Straight up napalmed her whole life, and then, shocking no one but her, it didn't work out because he couldn't keep a job and she couldn't pay for all three of them, so she ended up moving back in with her parents and working at a factory. Story 38. Dude I knew from primary school and high school messed his life up permanently. He was always a delinquent in school, breaking crap, getting in fights, watching Korn in the library, screaming at teachers. In high school, he got heavy into substances and skipped pretty much all his classes every day. About 5 years after we all graduated, he contacted me for God knows what reason. We never liked each other. And he told me about how he got his life together, quit substances, and started a moving company with his best friend. Now keep in mind, we never spoke and I didn't trust the dude, but I was happy to hear he was doing better. He asked me for my Instagram and suggested we meet up, but I wasn't about that because I obviously didn't trust the dude. It was a good thing I never met up with him, as 4 months later, he ended a young mother, only 21 years old. He went on the run, but was eventually caught and charged. It was a horrible story and very scary for me and everyone who knew him. He'll likely get life in jail. Story 39. Knew a dude back in 2008-ish. We had been friends since 3rd grade and were in our 20s at the time. He had a very attractive wife, cool kids that seemed like a lot of fun as they always had a great sense of humor. Any kid that makes me laugh is cool as heck in my book. Good IT, 6-figure manager job, just generally a good life, living the dream. Got hooked on playing World of Warcraft and started having digital intimacy with some elf from his guild. He was so fixated on the game and the world it twisted his mind. He looked at her as a sexy elf healer and finally met up with her in real life despite us all telling him what a stupid idiot he was. He ended up leaving his family behind for her and eventually lost his way at work and ended up unemployed. The girl he left his wife for was far from that elf. She weighed about 280, partially balding and just flat out disgusting. He got super fat, started losing his hair. They still live together to this day. He went from being an IT manager to some low-level desktop tech contractor for some crappy consulting company. They live in a crap hole town in TN in a trailer currently. No kids because she is too fat to have them. His ex-wife still looks pretty, but I didn't know her as well, so I rarely talk to her anymore. She apparently moved on and remarried. The dude never paid his child support either and abandoned the kids. I couldn't imagine how he has not ended it all beyond me. He had the life people would want to have. His ex-wife, after 3 kids, aged into her early 40s and still looks like a young cheerleader. And if any of these stories got to you, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.